Don't be surprised if you're no longer invited to the party. Do not be surprised if you're no longer invited to events. It's because they are jealous of you. There are some women who are so jealous and insecure around you, and it's because they can sense that you have leveled up in some way. They can sense that you have leveled up in your mindset, the way that you think, and the way that you carry yourself. They begin to sense that certain things are beneath you, just like you will begin to sense that certain things are beneath you, but they will become jealous and intimidated by the fact that certain things are beneath you. You might have once tolerated low-level speaking, low-level behavior. You might have tolerated certain things in the past, but when people, especially other women, sense that you are now a woman with an elevated mindset, with a non-messy mindset, they will become very jealous and intimidated, and your phone may dry up. Meaning, people who were once close to you, they might start to drift off. People who once had you close might now want you far away. They will not want you in the inner circle of their low vibrational way of being, because they will suddenly feel judged by you. In my opinion, one sure way you can know for certain that you are leveling up and becoming a better woman, a woman of class and decorum, as they say, is that certain people will begin to feel uncomfortable around you. And that's okay. I think as women, especially when you're evolving, when you're becoming better, when your mindset is becoming more of an astute woman, when you have standards and boundaries, there are certain people that you don't want to interact with. And I know that might sound some kind of way to certain people, but honestly, if you are a woman that thinks a certain way, if you are not a woman who tolerates disrespect, why would you surround yourself with people who are super disrespectful? If you are not a woman who engages in certain activities, you're not going to surround yourself with people who engage in certain activities. And the thing about that, a lot of people, instead of them accepting and respecting your changes, what they want to do, especially other women who become jealous, envious, and intimidated by you, they want you to bend your level of thinking to go low vibrational to the point that you understand their nonsense. They want you to become delusional and follow whatever nonsense they try to put you through. But when people sense that certain things are beneath you, they will not appreciate that you are a woman of class, that you're a woman of spirituality, that you're a woman of just good old common sense. They want to bring you down to the lower levels of Hades in order to get you to be on their level. People who stop inviting you to different things, they feel like, okay, if she's around, the party is not going to party. If she's around, I'm not going to be able to do the things I want to do. If she's around, I'm going to feel judged. These are typically the people who see you as a threat in some way, and not because you're doing anything wrong, but because you represent something that they think they could never be. Jealous, envious people, especially jealous, envious women, they are the attitude and vibe police. They police other women's attitudes, moods, and moves like nobody's business. Have you ever been in a room full of women or walked past a group of women and they say something to the effect, oh, I don't like her energy, or her vibe is off, or she got an attitude? I don't know what it is. And just speaking as a Black woman, sometimes we can be like the attitude police. And have you ever noticed that it's women with the most attitude are the ones who normally calling out other women on their attitudes? Oh, she got an attitude. I don't know why she looked like that. What's with her vibe? And honestly, a lot of the negative energy that other women see in other women, it's normally internal. It's what they're feeling on the inside of themselves. So because they feel insecure on the inside of themselves, they try to say everybody else, other women have an attitude. Other women have bad energy. Other women are this or that. And it's simply because they have a nasty attitude and they feel horrible about themselves. And these are typically the women that don't want you around. If you are a woman who has standards, and you are a light bearer, as I like to say. Many women have a natural light. They have a natural easygoingness about themselves. They are typically more joyful than the average miserable woman today. And it's sad to say that, but there are many women who are very savage-like, who walk around with a chip on their shoulder, as they used to say back in the day, and just don't know how to take it easy. And if you are that kind of woman who is not like that, don't be surprised if you're not invited. And it's okay. And when I say you're not invited, I mean you might have had relatives, aunties, cousins, close friends, people you went to school with who were always inviting you to things. They always wanted you around. But the more your mindset shift into something more positive, you become maybe more feminine, you maybe become more spiritual, maybe you're just focusing on more productive things and trying to be a better person in general. There will be some people who are completely thrown off and taken aback by the fact that you no longer operate in a messy way. Let's just cut to the point. You are not messy enough for some people. People who develop jealousy and envy against you, especially other women, when they become jealous of other women and don't want to hang out with you and don't want you around, oftentimes it's because you're not messy enough for them. And I have seen this in real life, not in my own life, thankfully, because I don't surround myself with people who are in a lot of messiness, but I know of people who have noticed that their friendships, their relationships have drifted apart simply because they're no longer doing certain things, or they're no longer entertaining different types of situations and behaviors. You know, some people are only cool with you and want you around if you allow them to disrespect you. Some people only want you around if you allow them to take advantage of you and mistreat you in some way. But if you are a woman that doesn't tolerate those kind of things, and you, as they say, stand 10 toes down in your boundaries, and you call out shade and you don't tolerate shade, then certain women don't want you around. Like I've said in other videos, some women want you to be their entertainment. They want you around for the simple purpose of being able to talk about you behind your back to other miserable, toxic, jealous women. But when you begin to level up and they sense, because don't ever believe that jealous people do not see your value. They see your value so much so that they get intimidated by it, that you are making them feel insecure because they notice your value, they notice your worth, they notice how you operate, and that you've changed, that you are no longer the kind of person that they might have met in the beginning. You are no longer the kind of woman who's interested in tearing apart happy homes. You are no longer the woman who's interested in just sitting around tearing another woman down. You are no longer the woman who sits around being a hater, just calling out women's moods and attitudes and saying who has an attitude, who has bad energy, who has this. I hear, look, there's so many women, they're walking around trying to sage everybody's energy when they need to just douse themselves in the sage. You know what I mean? It's like they are the toxic energy. They are the bad energy, whatever you want to call it. Oftentimes, women who are jealous and envious and they have issue with you, it's because on the inside, they feel horrible about themselves. And those kind of women, instead of them dealing with themselves, they try to pick apart you, which is another thing that you will see with women when they're jealous of you. They don't want you around simply because they have made it their job, they have made it their mission to pick you apart. They will tell everybody who will listen how stuck up you are, how miserable you are. They'll say that your, self-development and your discipline is somehow misery. She don't even do this no more. She don't even go to the club. She don't even hang out with so-and-so. I'm not knocking whatever you do in your personal life, but I'm making an example that there are some women who thrive in messiness and they only want to surround themselves with other messy women. I'm not saying that you can't be a woman who has fun. I'm not saying you can't be a woman who actually just lets down her hair and relax. But what does that look like? Because unfortunately, in today's society, not for all women, but for many women, a lot of women, like I said before, Only if you're willing to get down in the trenches and the lower levels of HE double hockey sticks are they willing to hang out with you. Like if you're ready to be about that life and go ahead and fight somebody, they want to hang out with you. If you're ready to go, do that, they're ready to hang out with you. But if you are a woman who values her body, values her mental, and you don't do certain things that put you in situations to mess up your pretty face, your pretty body, they don't want to deal with you. You're not messy enough for them. Women will develop jealousy and envy towards other women who are not down to get into messy behavior. They will sense that that is beneath you, and it's okay for you to say certain things are beneath you. I just recently said to my husband, I don't know how this is going to sound, but I feel like this is beneath me. Oh, I know what I was talking about. I was talking about going over to TikTok more and spreading the word about my channel and building an audience over there and all of that. And I was telling him how I love YouTube and I'm thinking about extending the following over to TikTok, but TikTok is a whole different level of things. It's like, I feel like TikTok is beneath me. That's what I told him. And look, on TikTok, you see some of the most craziest things. And I feel like on TikTok, and this is a little bit of a sidebar into making the point of how if you feel certain things are beneath you, don't deal with it, don't do it. But I feel like over on TikTok, for some reason, they accept any old thing. I mean, you have people on there eating ice, making money. You have people sitting there just staring into the camera, not saying nothing. And they got like 50,000 people watching them. I'm just like, if I go over there with this wisdom and all these gems and talking about things that are common sense, I don't know if anybody's going to watch me. I just feel like it's beneath me. That's what I said to my husband. But I'm still thinking about being on TikTok. But back to the original point. Some people, especially other women, when they sense that certain things are beneath you and when they feel intimidated and insecure in your presence, suddenly do not be surprised if you are not invited to the event. There have been many things that I learned about after the fact where I was like, oh, it was her birthday? Oh, I didn't even know. Those kind of things. And for some women, if you're not used to this, and I want to encourage you in this way, ladies, because dealing with jealousy and envy and people who suddenly change up on you, in the beginning for women who are not used to those kind of things, who don't really understand it, it can be hurtful. We're all human. It can be hurtful, and it's okay to acknowledge that you feel hurt by the fact that you weren't invited to the party, you weren't invited to the event, or what have you. But what you will realize is that sometimes not being invited, not being included is actually, the way I see it, a blessing for you. Because sometimes I see that as you being shielded from things that are absolutely beneath you and that will not be of benefit to you or the people around you. Why would you want to sit in the midst of people who, number one, tolerate you and don't celebrate you, people who don't even acknowledge you, and people who might fake like you just for the sense of a family event? Like, who wants to be a part of that? And those kind of things, that kind of mindset comes along with time, maturity, and age. When you begin to realize as a woman that, you know what, I don't have time to fake it with other people. And I'm not saying being cordial, meaning that if you're around somebody that you don't necessarily care for, but you know how to still maintain your composure and just be relatively kind, then I'm not talking about that. But I mean, day in, day out, you're going to different events, being around people who you know are haters, are jealous of you, who are talking about you behind your back and always trying to make you the joke of their conversations for some reason because they're insecure in your presence, or they're knocking the positive things, like making fun of how you talk, the kind of job you have, where you live. Oh, you live, or look, this is what, and this is completely real and raw. Sometimes when you have a black family, they say, oh, you live around all them white people. You live around all them, palm color people. They say those kind of things as if it's like a slight, like, oh, I'm so bad, I'm making money. I'm so bad, I live in a nice neighborhood. I'm so bad, I'm doing this. Like, it's very weird. Jealous people, envious people, and I'm not saying it's just black families that act that way. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying jealous, envious people Sometimes they'll say things that do nothing more than highlight their insecurity. They will take pot shots at good things, like, oh, your kid's going to that school up there with all of them. Okay, my kid's getting a top tier education. Not saying them means top tier education, but if it's a good school, what's the problem? It's because they're jealous. It's because they're haters. And that kind of behavior, those kind of interactions should be beneath you. You no longer have time, and I can speak for myself. I don't have time to speak with somebody who uses the good things that are happening in my life as somehow a joke or a little pot shot for them. Because in every joke, oftentimes with people who are jealous and insecure, there is some kind of truth. In every snide, sarcastic remark, there is some kind of truth. Should you care about that? Absolutely not. But do not tolerate it. As leveled up in your mindset. I'm not just talking about clothing. And I'm going to do a whole other video on the aesthetic and mindset and all of that, because there are some women who are confused as to what leveling up really is. I did a video on it before, but I'm going to do a new one from a different angle, because some women are completely superficial and shallow and don't realize that leveling up is just more than the clothes that you wear. But I digress. But when people are jealous and envious of you, when women are jealous and envious of you, if they don't invite you to different things, it's because they're threatened when you're around. It just comes with the territory. They're threatened not just by how you look, because it's not just about looks. They could be threatened by how you speak. If you are the kind of woman who sees somebody about to do something that's going to harm themselves and you stop them, they might be threatened by that. Just let her live. I'm not going to bother her. She grown. She's about to take a whole bottle of whatever. She's about to do a whole bottle of whatever. You're just going to sit there and watch that? She having a good time. If you are the kind of woman who cannot follow that kind of logic, and I am that kind of woman, I can't sit back and watch somebody harm themselves and say she having a good time. I just remove myself, because that level of delusion and confusion and harmful behavior, I just can't follow it. I can't follow delusion. If you're a woman who can't follow delusion and foolishness, you're not going to fit in with messy people. It's okay to say certain things, certain environments are beneath you. So if you don't get invited, take it all in stride. You as a woman, as a confident, leveled up woman in your mindset, you should be looking to create your own tables, create your own way, create your own community of like-minded women who will encourage, inspire, and help you to elevate. And you do the same for them. No more digging in the bottom of the barrel because we're trying to fit in. Okay? We do not do those kind of things. All right? Like and subscribe to this channel and share this content. Hit the notification bell so that you're aware when I post a brand new video. If you watch this video until the very end, put the high heel emoji in the comment section. I absolutely love to see it. Take care.